Hi, I'm Milton Rendell and welcome to Real News Friday. This week I thought I'd share a few statistics which were sent to me during the week from a publication called Mortgage Business. Just giving you an indication what's happening maybe in the market in terms of lending. The statistics that came through for the last quarter of last year, that's the time up to the end of December, we'd seen a decline in loan approvals of 12%, which is equivalent to $11.9 billion. In less lending that occurred in the last quarter of last year. Now it'll be interesting to see what the first quarter of this year looks like, but there's certainly a trend. Now this is a byproduct of some of the changes APRA had made, also as a byproduct of the investigations that have been done in the Royal Commission into the banks as well. So there's a lot of tightening been happening. But for the last year, there was a decline in finance approvals of 6.5% overall, and a decline of $25.1 billion for the year. So you can see there's a real big whack at the end of that. So whether that flows into our first quarter, we'll know probably by about May. But my gut feeling is that is something that is definitely happening out there in the marketplace. Now, of the amount of loans over the 12 months, the $25.1 billion decrease in loan approvals, $17.7 billion of that was a decline in the investors borrowing money, which is a massive reduction of 14% compared to the previous year. Now, in terms of owner-occupiers, we had a decline of 2.9% over the year, which is equivalent to $7.4 billion. Now, it's great to throw all these figures around, but we still have had markets statistics coming through saying there's less sales happening in Melbourne and Sydney in the first quarter of this year, so it'll be interesting to see where those figures are. Now, the one thing that did amaze me in the statistics that they did share, that they said that the average mortgage in Australia had increased. Now, I expected the figure to be quite large, and I think most of us on the street think that the average mortgage is quite large. Now, depends on who you are and your perspective on money, but the average mortgage in Australia at the end of this period was $276,000. I'll repeat that again, $276,000. That is far less than what I expected it to be, and that would probably be more in line with the average mortgage around the area that we're in Midland. So if the average, for a mortgage of around $300,000, based on interest rates around 4%, over a 30-year term, that's roughly repayments of about $320 to $330 per week for the average mortgage. So, you know, it makes you scratch your head when you see some of these other inflated figures, because we hear about Melbourne and Sydney constantly. I mean, I'm looking at where we are in Midland and the surrounding areas, and the affordability is certainly there. So, you know, just, you know, sort of put it aside to what's being said in other parts of the country, and let's focus on what our backyard says. But also look at, you know, people are talking about mortgages going through the roof, etc. $276,000 is the average mortgage. So, you know, that's come from the Mortgage Business circulation that came out, and I'll take it on face value. So it's an interesting statistic to look at. Now, back to our own marketplace. Now, keeping in mind that our area, particularly around Midland, we've got a lot of property that's sold at 300 and less currently. So the affordability is certainly there. The investors out there, obviously there has been some spooking, but it's also got back to why we've seen the decline in approvals is that the banks have tightened up on interest-only loans, and in fact now they're saying that they over-tightened and they didn't need to tighten as far as they did. So we may see a change in the second half of this year. Statistics are an interesting thing, but more importantly, consider what you're doing and what you want to do. Always happy to have a chat to you. Check out realestateplus.com.au.